it also really matters when we see stuff like this. Okay, and we see stuff like the Department of Defense has identified a soldier. I think this makes 7 Americans who've been killed in action during this conflict since the beginning of March. This soldier died. He sustained injuries from an Iranian strike at the air base in Saudi Arabia, and he succumbed to his injuries. He was out of Fort Carson, Colorado. And so the Wounded Warrior Project, is going to help those who are casualties, who come back with mental issues as well. But if you are a spouse, you can sign up for components of the Wounded Warrior Project as well. That's why I always just try to remember them and always think about them whenever we start these type of presentations. Day 10 of this conflict. Well, it's a funny one because at the end of day 9, we had so much going on. This is Robert Page. He's Professor Page. He is a professor out of University of Chicago. He specializes in security affairs. He has a TikTok of everything that he's tallied so far through day 9, and I think it's a well-deserved highlight of his TikTok. New hardliner leader selected in Iran. We're going to talk about that. The new leaders promises new phase, talking about the IRGC as well as the new supreme leader as well. 130 drones by Iran launched in 24 hours. Now the U.S. is starting to talk about limited ground forces. We started hearing a lot of rumblings about that on Saturday and Sunday, and now it just continues into this week. Desalination plant hit in Bahrain, which is used to actually turn brackish water or salt water into palatable water for drinking purposes. Oil climbed to $102 a barrel. It actually kind of reached $115 a barrel overnight, and it crept back down, but still, it's over $100 a barrel. We'll see where it is live, but that's kind of ridiculous in and of itself. Of course, they got the polls. Americans approved 59-41. I particularly America First type of guy. I would have preferred we not be over there doing this stuff at all, but it is what it is. We're kind of over there making the stuff happen. And allegedly, Russia's targeting information or intel to Iran. Look at all the activity just over day 9. This map doesn't even talk about what happened with Turkey. That was technically day 10. Just stuff all over the place. There just seems to be this all sorts of conflict. It seems to be escalating, and I'm not sure if it's going to die down. All over the place when it comes to the different things that is happening when it comes to Iran seemingly running out of ballistic missiles. Good thing. But it seems like they just keep shitting drones out of their ass. I mean, over 100 drones launched in 24 hours. These things are obviously in some type of underground area or something like that. And it's just very, 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 it must be hard for Israeli and U.S. forces to get to these facilities, because I don't know why I thought in my head, we got all this firepower, I'm talking about, ain't no way they're going to be hiding shit underground. But obviously I'm wrong about that. But apparently Iran has shifted to using different clusters on top of their ballistic missiles, which may be a big issue for countries like Israel. Let's check out this report from Richard Engel. He is with MS Now, and he normally is in the area. Let's see what he has to say here.
Iran has begun using a new kind of weapon, and you can see what it does right where I am. You see that small hole in the roof of this building? That's where a small bomblet penetrated and then exploded inside this apartment, totally devastating the apartment. So even though the bomb itself was small, it did a lot of damage. And these are these new cluster bombs. And up until now, Iran has mostly been using drones and ballistic missiles, and Israel and other countries have had a tremendous amount of success shooting them down. Ballistic missiles in particular fly in a very predictable pattern. They have a single, very large warhead. These cluster bombs are more like shotguns. They explode midair and then drop lots of little bomblets, and they are very hard to stop.
These little clusters, here's some footage of them being used in action just this weekend over Tel Aviv. These cluster bombs, they fall and they achieve direct hits, but they actually break apart. I don't know how they set these things up. I have nothing to do with putting together munitions, but these clusters are very hard to defend against. If they're not able to get to the ballistic missile while it's flying over Iraqi airspace or when it initially enters Israeli airspace. These things are timed in such a way that they become clusters. This is a next level issue that Israel has to deal with. I don't know what employed them to start using these type of warheads on the ballistic missiles themselves, but it is an issue that I think we should keep our eyes on. And the reason I wanted to highlight this at the very beginning is because we do have troops in the area. We do have vessels in the area, bases in the area, some of our friendly civilian infrastructure that we have to deal with this. I don't want it to be a surprise to us if all of a sudden we're hearing for the first time these clusters being over places like I could see them over, unfortunately, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, the Emiratis are now in this fight, and I could see them using that as well. And it seems to be that lobbing these into some of our allied countries or some places that we have is a viable option. Just this weekend, the State Department ordered any diplomats in Saudi Arabia to leave. It's the first mandatory order issued by the department during this conflict. There's been a lot of suggestions like if you're non-essential, okay, you can go and get up out of there. But this is the first mandatory issue by the State Department. This is after all those attacks that were made in Saudi Arabia. But it's not just Saudi Arabia. We just had a second Iranian ballistic missile targeting one of our consulates in Turkey. And we just had the NATO forces had to shoot down that ballistic missile. But we can't lose the forest for the trees for this. Another country possibly being dragged into this fight, this time Turkey being a NATO country. Iraq's not a NATO country. Most of the Gulf states are not NATO countries, but Turkey is. And an attack on Turkey, if they were to invoke Article 5 and then NATO voted on it, could have a whole lot of NATO members that are coming for Iran's throat. So I don't know. This also indicates to me that Iran's back is on the ropes, that they are willing to do anything. When you see that they're lobbing ballistic missiles towards the country of Turkey, trying to hit our American embassy there. And so because of that, the U.S. Embassy has ordered all non-essential personnel to depart that consulate in Adana. This is NATO's air base. It's also where we have a consulate there, an American consulate. And we've also urged Americans just visiting southeastern Turkey. If you're down there getting your hair plugs, you know what I'm talking about? You need to go and bounce your ass up out of there. It's time to go and bounce your ass up out of there because we do have a concern when it comes to the willingness of Iran to actually lob firepower towards a NATO aligned country, which I am surprised to see. I think there are a lot of winners and losers in this conflict so far. The biggest winner, hands down, has to be the defense industrial complex. I hope they're donating to organizations like the Wounded Warrior Project as much effing money as they're making. Lockheed Martin left the meetings I told you about last week. I told you that the president was dragging down some of the heads of places such as Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, BAE, General Atomics, General Aviation. This is one of the messages we got from Lockheed Martin. We've agreed to quadruple critical munitions production as a result of the President Trump's leadership. We began this work months ago with Sec War Hegseth and Deputy Secretary Finberg. Now, here's the thing. The winners in this, hands down, are the oil prediction markets, anybody that's in oil dealings, okay, as well as the defense industrial complex. My advice, you're looking for a job. Yeah, you might want to just pull up and see if any of these companies are starting to hire, whether it's on their manufacturing lines, whether it's in their purchasing departments, their contracting departments, their quality departments, their program offices, their, Buy American Act compliance listings, all sorts of things that have to do with the integration of this stuff. Yeah, this might be an opportunity for you. Just saying. Okay. I guess if there's a silver lining, anybody out there looking for something, that might be something that you might want to look for. But there's losers in this because it's not just the increase for the defense industrial complex. The reason that we're having to bump up and do more munitions is because we're using a lot of Tomahawks, Patriot missiles specifically is what we're concerned with, is the Patriot missiles for interception purposes. A Patriot missile costs $4 million. A drone that Iran brews up underground somewhere be costing between $20,000 and $35,000. We're using Patriot missiles to knock down $20,000 to $35,000 drones. So of course, places like Lockheed and Raytheon are going to happily increase the munition production because we're depleting them very quickly. But speaking of depleting stuff very quickly, my pockets, bro. Listen, I just put fuel in my truck in Mrs. X's SUV because I'm nervous about gas prices being all over the place. This is President Trump's response to the spike in oil prices, short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of Iran nuclear threat is over. Pause. This is just me editorializing. Thought we got rid of that last year. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. I thought we had got rid of that last year, bro. Back to the message. Is a very small price to pay for the USA and world safety in peace. Only fools would think differently. President Donald J. Trump. I guess I'm a damn fool, man, because I got a truck that particularly only gets about 14, you know what I'm saying, maybe 13 to 15 miles per gallon. You know what I'm saying? Mrs. X vehicle does significantly better, but it ain't just smoking me out the water. But you know, we got a lot of shit that we do. I use my truck on a lot of work trips because I don't like going through TSA right now because of the Department of Homeland Security shut down. The lines are long. So I take my truck on a lot of work trips. Also, when I go on work trips, I can take my gun, all the other shit. Shit is expensive, bro. It's expensive. So it's a little pain to take. Yeah, I see what to say. But if we wasn't over there doing this stuff, I mean, this shit still might be like $65, $70 a barrel, bro. Right now, it's $98.87 a barrel. Over the last 5 days, it was going pretty ham. It was going hard in the paint, bro. It was going hard in the paint. Last night, it jumped to like $115.14. But just look at this dramatic spike just over the last week since this conflict started. In real time, it's jumping to $102.20. But I'm very concerned because we were just enjoying in early March $74 a barrel. You know what I'm talking about? I was just getting gas. I was waiting till I got to like a quarter tank, which is unlike me. You know, normally I'm kind of going making it happen before that. But unfortunately, no. So there are financial winners and losers in this. And the biggest one, losers as it stands right now, is, I think, the American people. I know the whole global economy is feeling it. We had the South Korean markets open and they had to do literally what's called a circuit breaker, which is where they do a pause in trading because their market was going down so fast. Japan as well. They didn't do a circuit breaker, but they had their markets go down 7% upon opening. I don't even know what our markets are doing right now. I don't even want to look. But it's a big issue when we have so many losers in this and we don't really know why we're doing it. Like, I really want to be just coddled and told why we're doing this stuff, man. Coming at the jugular of how we Americans will feel about them selecting a new leader and finding out, is this something that we absolutely thought was going to be the case? No, I thought us getting rid of Hamani was like, maybe that was going to be what we needed to do to go ahead in this. But guess what? They selected that nigga's son, bro. They put his son in power. The new supreme leader, his second son, Mojabati Hamadani. I don't know how to pronounce the shit. I particularly don't care. But he is more of a hardliner than his father. He is the IRGC's candidate. He's only 56, which is relatively young. I think he just turned 57. Maybe he's still 56. He avoids the public. He ain't up there so somebody can go ahead and put their sniper downrange. It's hard to track him. He was trusted by his father, the clerics, and he was in the military during the Iraq-Iran war, which happened a few decades ago. And not only that, his wife, one of his sons, his father, and one of his grandkids was killed in these strikes last week. You don't think this man has a chip on his shoulder, bro? Do y'all not think that this man have a chip on his shoulder? He lost his father, his mother, his wife, son, a grandchild, his sister, his brother-in-law, and a niece and a nephew, all in these strikes so far in the last 10 days. I don't see him de-escalating anytime soon. I think that this is a direct smack in the face of the administration, who's saying that we need to be involved in choosing the next leadership, and they just not chose the next leadership. Then they had a big ass celebration honoring his choosing. Crowds gather in Tehran and pledge allegiance to the new supreme leader, and verified this with multiple networks. This literally happened this weekend. Literally happened earlier today. It's nighttime for them now. Happened earlier today. There's certain ways to immediately piss off Iranians. I think one of them will be trying to tell them what to do with their leadership. I think that this is a minority of people that want him to be in power. But of course, our Iranian TV is going to make it look like everybody pulled up. They're going to make it look like everybody pulled up. And there's other ways to piss off Iranians as well. One way is to allegedly use a U.S. Tomahawk to yeet over 150 schoolgirls plus nearly a dozen teachers in the first days of this conflict. This is a video allegedly showing us using a tomahawk to strike right there. There's a tomahawk to strike a school, killing 175 people. Looks like a U.S. Tomahawk. The analysis by the New York Times, by multiple outlets, and by Sweden, who normally stays kind of neutral, seems to think that it was one of our Tomahawks. You trying to find different ways to piss these folks off, bro. Hit they school with a damn Tomahawk, man. You want to know different ways to piss these folks off? Destroy 30 of their oil tanker storage facilities and destroy them by Little Brother. Little Brother Israel destroyed these, man. Little Brother Israel, who's supposed to be, you know what I'm saying, we're supposed to be the lead, and they supposed to be the assist. They informed us they were going to be doing a strike on some of the oil reserve. We didn't know that they were about to take out 30 of them hoes. They took out 30 of them. And they said they took them out because some of the oil was being used for military uses, such as vehicles, whatever. But, you know, that oil was also being used by the civilian population as well. It was civilian infrastructure. The Trump administration is dismayed by the scale and widespread destruction caused by Saturday's strike against those 30 oil and fuel depots, sparking a massive fire. This is different ways to create forever enemies. Now, the reason I say that is not because my goal is for us to be kicking in Iran come 2027 summer. It's not like I'm trying to be on somebody's beach on one of their islands. You know what I'm talking about? That's not the goal. But the reason I bring it up is because if we do hope to have different leadership someday, have different people in power someday, like, I don't need these folks to be like, hell nah, we ain't never gonna be cool with them. Did you see what they did to our daughters? Did you see what they did to our freaking sewer system? So different ways to end this sooner than later. We've seen them tease about possibly putting boots on the ground. And this has had me very concerned because boots on the ground can mean multiple things. You can put boots in Iraq to build like some type of storage facility. That's boots on the ground. But we're talking about boots on the ground in some type of territory owned by Iran. And if we do that, I'm very fearful of the number of casualties that could be had. Let's check this out real quick.
Analysts informed the Washington Post that Karg Island, a pivotal oil terminal off Iran's southern coast, could emerge as a central objective for leverage. Approximately 90% of Iran's oil exports channel through this island's advanced facilities and expansive storage infrastructure, sustaining economic vitality. Securing the island would afford Washington commanding influence over Iran's foremost economic resource, pressuring Tehran's fiscal resilience. Experts assess that severing this primary revenue conduit would impair Tehran's capacity to sustain prolonged military operations effectively.
That is the thing. I believe that if we put boots on the ground, I don't think it's going to be just dropping troops in Iran wholeheartedly. I think we're going to try to find a way to look like we got a W in this conflict. And we're going to do that by going after Karg Island. Karg Island is off the southwest coast of Iran. It's deep in the Persian Gulf. And Karg Island is primarily used for the processing and putting oil on ships so that they can get ready to go through the strait. If you look towards the east part of this map, you see the Strait of Hormuz. Karg Island is in almost the most western part of the Persian Gulf. And this is how Iran makes their bread. This is how they make their money. It's not just the leadership's money, though. This money goes to support civilians, their infrastructure, whatever their social programs look like. That's why we haven't immediately hit this island. We could have bombed this island day one. We haven't done so yet. Number one, we don't want to necessarily destroy those assets. We may decide that we want them for ourselves. But I'm telling you guys, this is my prediction. Boots on the ground. I believe we're only going to do it one of two ways or both ways. Number one, we go after Karg Island. Now, Karg Island does have IRGC there. It has civilians that live there. I doubt that there's no one there protecting the island. Okay. If we go there, it's going to be some people like Delta Force, Green Berets, 82nd Airborne could come there after, Raiders with the Marines. Like, those are some of the missions that could occur there. If it's anything that could be infiltrated via the water, it can be with Navy SEALs. So that is an area we could go after. But I fear that we would have casualties if we go after Karg Island. But this would be the area I could see us going for, because if we get Karg Island, we in essence get 90% of Iran's processing power for their oil. This is what I see us doing. The second way I see boots on the ground is for us to go into the mainland of Iran and go after their actual enriched uranium, which is a much more dangerous mission. At least with Karg Island, we can surround the island with destroyers, with smaller vessels, whatever we have in the area, and try to give some type of artillery support to anybody that might be going in, soften targets, etc. Going into Iran itself, of course, those destroyers can still help, but it's going to be with tomahawks and not artillery or chain guns or anything like that. So I think those are the two ways that we put boots on the ground. I don't want us to do either one, but I'm just going to tell y'all now, just going to give you my prediction that boots on the ground could mean some type of special ops going into something like that. This is also Pete Hegseth talking about this literally yesterday as well.
To try to cover over their nuclear blackmail ambitions. As far as how you get at that nuclear option, we'll make sure that their nuclear ambitions are never achieved.
Will we take it out ourselves?
Oh, I would never tell you or anybody else what our options are. See, that's another thing. People keep asking.
It's a legitimate question.
It's a very fair question. People ask boots on the ground, no boots on the ground, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, go in. President Trump knows, I know, you don't tell the enemy, you don't tell the press, you don't tell anybody what your limits would be on an operation. We're willing to go as far as we need to in order to be successful.
Do we have any overt or covert forces inside Iran now?
I wouldn't tell you that if we did.
The only reason I ask is earlier this week you said no. Is that still the answer?
Yeah, that's still the answer, but we reserve the right. We would be completely unwise if we did not reserve the right to take any particular option, whether it included boots on the ground or no boots on the ground.
Although I don't agree with us putting boots on the ground, I agree with the way he handled that question. You know what I'm saying? Why the hell would we tell like the enemy our plans, regardless of we Americans agree or disagree with what those plans might be? I don't think it's something we should be doing. So we are considering not only boots on the ground, but now reportedly the White House is now considering restoring the draft for the first time since the Vietnam era in the 1970s, showing the planning for a years-long war with Iran, including a full-scale invasion of 500,000 troops, since there is no reason where we need to draft. Is this true? I'm not sure. Is this something I'm going to take off the table? No. Could I see them planning some stuff like this? Yes. Me particularly, I don't want to see any type, because now the draft includes females. You know, it can include my 17-year-old daughter. It can include those that I love. It can include my 29-year-old brother. We saw the Austin shooter, right? We saw the Austin 6th Street shooter. He had the hoodie on, and we kind of saw that as maybe being a lone wolf. We had a lot of issues with that, okay? I had a lot of issues because it felt really lone wolfy to me. It felt very just like, I'm not sure if he 100% was activated by Iran. I just doubt that was the case. But the Austin shooter suspect is being investigated for a terror motive. So I think he was a Sudanese-born American, and he had like a Property of Allah shirt on. He killed 3 people in Austin in the 6th Street area. But that was the first, they're trying to see if there's a nexus, if there's a connection to terrorism with this guy. We see just happened yesterday that 2 suspects in New York seem to have another nexus to terrorism, specifically the Islamic State. Per three federal law enforcement sources, 2 suspects arrested at NYP for throwing IEDs and yelling Allah Akbar at a protest in New York City yesterday. Both believed to be U.S. citizens. I'm not going to say their names because they're dirtbags. They're in custody, and NYPD confirms it was a real IED. Now, let me just show you. This is the response by the New York Police Department. This is the reason that I wanted to show this is because look how congested the streets are. Look how full the streets are. If we have issues in America, it's not everywhere in America, but we have so many people living in so congested places around different parts of America that if we start to see pop-up terrorism, I'm very concerned about the number of casualties that we could take. Very concerned about something like that. I don't want to see that this be something that begins to occur, where we're starting to see different individuals who are radicalized for whatever. And so I want to show you in real time what it looked like when one of the IEDs was thrown, and just tell me what y'all see in the lack of reaction from this guy with the freaking megaphone.
Get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
Am I tripping? Do y'all have a natural fight or flight thing? I have a very fight mentality. Okay. So one time I accidentally elbowed a waiter in their gut because they touched my shoulder, and reflexively I elbowed him, right? This guy, obviously, I don't know what type of fucking reaction he has. Look at this again.
Outside and then tell everyone else.
Bro, you mean to tell me that you don't have a reaction of something? Push, run, pull, inquiry, like you're just standing there. Me personally, you've got to have a fight or flight type of build inside of you. You got to have something inside of you. If you're at an active protest, matter of fact, you're one of the protesters, you got a fucking megaphone. If someone touches your body, you got to be ready to rumble or run. One of those R's, bro. You got to be ready to rumble or run. How are you just looking around? I thought that was just very, very odd. And so they're investigating this as a possible This is a terrorist investigation. They're trying to see if these two are connected to the Islamic State. These two have past travel to at least Turkey. They don't know any other locations. Well, they being us, I'm very confident the CIA and the FBI may know the other locations these two guys went. We don't know. But we believe that they may have gone there for terrorist training. They're only 18 and 19 years old. When the hell did they train there? They've already searched their homes in Pennsylvania. So they came all the way from Pennsylvania to New York. Their parents are not in custody, but they are. I just found it very odd, this guy's reaction, just lack of reaction. These two are the guys right here. Not only did they commit this, they just fucking stood around and got arrested. They were not actively trying to run, which is also a concern for me. And this is what it looks like when they threw another one of those IEDs at police officers. The black police officer, in the background, his first reaction, he's actually like a chief of one of the precincts down there. His first reaction was to jump the barricade and chase the guy, because ain't no way you're going to be lighting something in front of me. I would have put 2 down range. I'm just saying. So this is the perp walk of these two earlier today.
Why'd you throw it?
Just young, dumb, and full of cum. Terrorist cum, apparently. I just think that it's just so ridiculous that we have the possibility of lone wolves, sympathizers to Iran, sympathizers to the Islamic State. We're dealing with this all over again. It's not only are we worried about the sleeper cells, we're worried about the possibility of people being activated. But I'm just going to tell you right now, if there is any type of activation by proxies by this new leader, he will be the one to do it. His daddy might have not have did it. But I just told y'all, this dude just lost his mama, his daddy, his wife, one of his sons, a niece, a nephew, and a grandson in these strikes. I'm going to just tell y'all right now. If I lose Mrs. X from like a gang shooting around the corner, y'all might as well go ahead and figure out which prison to begin to send me letters to, because I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna crash out on the gang members. You hear what I'm talking about? Y'all might as well say, damn, y'all see what X did to them people? So we're seeing in such different places where not only are we concerned about the process of lone wolves, but we're also seeing in areas where we're seeing that Iran more and more, they are not interested in diplomacy. They're not interested in any possibility of working with us. So let's just see what they have here.
The system is quite functioning.
So the United States says it's drastically degraded the Iranian military, the capabilities as far as missiles is concerned, drones is concerned. How much longer can you do this?
That is one of the false narratives that the United States government.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, CNN has, I think they're one of 2 news outlets in Tehran. Of course, they're broadcasting and they're putting stuff out with Tehran's permission. But the foreign policy advisor to the supreme leader, this guy, Kamal Karazi, this looks like a normal ass building. They look comfortable as shit. I mean, like when I see the stuff on Twitter or on the news, it just looks like everything is getting bombed. This nigga look like he got his feet kicked up, just kicking it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Is producing. Iranian military is quite strong, as you see, because they have the motivation, they have the arms that they need, which are produced in Iran. As a matter of fact, we are not dependent on any other country for weapons and arms.
I actually kind of believe that, because I'm wondering where they're shitting these drones out from. I believe they have underground facilities that we know nothing about, that they have been building since the 80s and 90s, that they have been manufacturing ballistic missiles and drones from. How are they getting the parts and components from it? I don't know. Are they able to build the stuff themselves? Yes, because it really does throw my mind for a loop that 120 drones were launched yesterday. And this is day 10 of this conflict.
So your side is ready for a long war if the United States and Israel choose that. Do you consider this an existential threat to the Islamic Republic?
It is an existential threat to the Islamic Republic, and therefore we have to stay with full might, as we are doing now.
Is your side seeking, or will you seek, a ceasefire with the United States?
Listen to this part here. Do they want a ceasefire or
At
not?
this point in time, and with Israel?
I don't see any room for diplomacy anymore, because Donald Trump has been deceiving others and not keeping with his promises. And we experienced it in 2 times of negotiations, that while we were engaged in negotiation, they struck us.
So this is what I would say. He says they experienced this 2 times in negotiations. Apparently, the very first negotiation, they sent their representatives to go talk to the Iranians for minutes, not hours, not days, minutes. And when Iran said, no, we can't give you what the president wanted, they ended negotiations. That was the first day. Minutes. Now, of course, that guy, you know, English not his first language, but he's still kind of articulating exactly what they tend to be, which is we got the weapons and we just gonna go ahead and fight. And I don't know the viability of this ending anytime soon. So I think that I'm still hoping that I'm right, that this is a no more than 6-week conflict. If that's the case, this is over by the middle of April. I just hope I'm right, but I think I'm gonna be wrong. I think this is going to be longer than 6 weeks. I think that we really don't want to see this escalate. My biggest reasoning for the possibility of sleeper anything has to be with a recent report that ABC News is reporting. And I'll leave you guys with this. ABC News is reporting that U.S. officials have intercepted encrypted communication believed to originate in Iran. It may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper cell assets outside the country for preliminary signal analysis, according to the federal alert sent to law enforcement agencies. This is apparently ABC News reporting that law enforcement agencies around the country have said that sleeper cells could be activated and Iran could be doing that. I don't know how the hell that happens, when that would happen, but I'm going to tell you why this could be a viable thing. And Richie Luxury, he says it best. Richie Luxury says they have no trade, they have no industry, they have no agriculture, they have no trade partners. It is a thing that I could believe that they may activate sleeper cells because they feel like they have nothing else left. And I told y'all this in a video that I posted yesterday, and I will say this again. Our objectives are change the regime. They can't have a nuclear weapon, degrade the ballistic missile program, degrade their Navy. We have like clearly laid out objectives, and also control their the enriched uranium. So we have like 5 clearly laid out objectives. They shift, they move, right? But those are the 5 that I can remember. Iran has 2 objectives. Two objectives: survive and keep the current leadership in power. That means they're willing to burn any bridge, hit any facility, hit any previous partner, torch the Gulf states. They will make oil $200 a barrel if they can stay in power by hitting everywhere that they can. So I don't think that this conflict is anywhere near over. And day 10 is just another example of that. I'm just hoping that we're able to continue, not have more casualties. We're able to not have more lone wolves or sleeper cells activated as well. Here's the thing. You're saying that they can't sell oil to China under our watch. That's not true. So it has been documented that the only vessels that have been getting through the Strait of Hormuz right now have been Iranian oil tankers. You know why? Because Iran's not going to attack their own vessels. Now, the president has said that he wants other vessels to give it a go, give it a shot. We're going to give you maritime insurance. We're going to take care of you just in case something happens. But those other vessels are still not really willing to have a go at it, because you got to remember, I don't care if I got insurance, bro. I still want to live. You know what I'm saying? I would still prefer to be living. So if we look at the Persian Gulf, this is the global conflict tracker. If we look at the Persian Gulf, we can see that the Gulf itself, you can see that the major island there, that is this island in the middle here next to Iran. That is Quish Island. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but they have a lot of civilians that live there. This is where they do a lot of their desalination of salt water so they can make it into drinking water. And then the other island right above the S in Persia, that's another one of their islands for processing oil. But going through the actual Strait of Hormuz itself, a lot of Iranian vessels have been able to get through on their way to China, 1 or 2, because they're not going to attack their own Iranian flagged or any vessel that is carrying Iranian oil. So in order to stop that, we would either have to commandeer or take the vessel or blow up the vessels. So it's not necessarily true that they wouldn't try to do it, but it's something that's a lower likelihood. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the battalion. Listen, guys, I really do appreciate y'all kicking the door in and kicking it with your boy. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. Everyone else, we'll speak soon.